So thank you all for showing up. This come together, the Center for Leadership and Neighborhood Engagement. It really is an effort and an opportunity to show up and acknowledging that the work that we have before us, there's been a 400, 500 years of a gap between white supremacy, racism, all of the despair, the division in our community. And so our goal is to come together. It's to show up. And that really means investing in hearing voices that culturally, societally, we don't typically hear because we have a long history of silo between our communities. And so gathering together, centering ourselves in relationship, listening and being together is a discipline. It's a practice. And so CLNE that's come together, we're building something and we're building it together. And so being grounded in this call to show up, it's more than what we do. It's about who we are. If you excuse the vernacular, it's who we be. It's being what Martin Luther King talked about, beloved community. And so that work it's hearing voices that we don't typically hear, and hearing those parts of ourselves that we don't typically listen to, often because we don't want to be vulnerable. We maybe don't feel safe. We're afraid to venture into the unknown. And so this space of come together is really about showing up. So this evening, we're really blessed to have the opportunity to show up with these young adults. Jackie Beck, who is a mother. Jackie is the vice president of the Center for Leadership and Neighborhood Engagement. And she's an amazing woman and leader, mom, a spouse. And William Jones, who is an aspiring a videographer and a gifted artist. So our goal to come together is to ground us in that reality that Martin Luther King talked about in beloved community. And our aspiration is the invitation to ground ourselves in a convening of welcome, safety, and belonging. Today, we're excited to have these two reflection leaders who are young adults. And we enter into a reflection around the experiences of their lives and navigating the realities as Black young adults. Jackie is a mother, a wife, and a leader. And again, in so many ways, displaying her giftedness in the world. And William is a father and a husband and a YouTube videographer. We had another young man, Sean, who was not able to be with us this evening, and we hold Sean in our thoughts and in our prayers. So before we turn our attention to these young leaders, I want to say a bit about Come Together and our focus this evening. Tonight is not about the assembly of primarily white folks listening to young adults who are Black. Tonight is not a design for a white audience. The design for tonight's Come Together is the same as if it would be if our audience was predominantly Black. There's a gap in the experience between young and older generations. So our goal for tonight is to bridge the gap, to show up, to come together, and it's to bridge this gap, this cavernous divide between the Black, brown, and marginalized community and the white community. So that while we want to go back to our intention with action and to see action, we want to begin with the understanding, and we want to see and hear and regard the voice and the experience of BIPOC community, particularly the Black community. And so it's my honor to introduce to you Jackie Beck, and William Jones. William and Jackie, we have 4 questions, and we'll read each question and invite you to take 2 minutes or so to respond to the question. And then when you're done, then we'll introduce the next question. Does that sound good to you guys?
Sounds good.
Great. So how would you introduce or describe yourself to our gathering this evening?
Well, hello, you guys. My name is Jackie, and again, thank you, Pastor Kelly, for such the warm welcome and words. I would describe myself as the obvious, a mother, also a student, a very determined young Black woman, in trying to survive in a community that's not always equal. I've been going to school for a long time, obtaining my human services degree. I graduated last August 2020 with the associates, and I have just been trying to figure out what's my next step in life. I love people. I was a troubled youth in North Minneapolis as well back in the day when I was younger, dealing with different type of not being able to self-regulate and things of that nature. A lot of things that our youth see here today, but with a community like Redeemer Lutheran Church, Pastor Kelly Chatman, people were able to wrap their arms around me, and I turned out to be an awesome individual. So a lot of my goal is to do the same for youth as well as my children and things of that nature. Don't want to go over my 2 minutes. I could talk forever.
All right, I jump in for you to help you out. Right, so my name is William Jones. So just who I am, I would say that I consider myself a father first. I have 3 boys, 14, 4, and 2-month-old. Just had one. Just a little bundle of joy. Also consider myself a video creator as well. Like PK said, I do make YouTube videos. Can you guys hear me? I'm not sure. But cool. I do consider myself a video creator. I'm an energetic, creative person. I'm passionate about the things that I do love doing, like video, as well as I am in school right now to become a firefighter. I'm finishing up my first semester of firefighting school. Completing my firefighter 1, moving on to my firefighter 2 classes soon, as well with my hazmat. So doing a lot of studying that I didn't think I'd be doing. So I don't want to go over the 2 minutes either. But
it sounds so fancy.
Well, take the time that you need. Don't let the time constrain you, unless we'll get to it. So, all right, the second question is, please describe an obstacle or challenge that you have or are facing.
I would say, for me, I have so many goals and dreams that I shoulda, coulda, woulda, or wish I would have done, or I'm trying to focus on now. And it seems really hard to figure out which route to go first. After graduating college, and I was also adopted, so none of my family graduated. So I was one of the first to graduate high school even. So it's just been one of those things where it's like, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do? But I see myself having my hands in all sorts of pots. I also, like I said, I went to school for human services. I've always been a helper. So I focus a lot on others and people around me. And I tend to struggle with focusing on myself and my own goals and dreams. I will put that on hold to focus on others at all times. So I'm working on just being able to recenter myself and figure out goals and things of that nature for myself, the same way I'm able to do confidently with others.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
So my story is a little bit kind of similar to hers in the beginning. Me, I was the only child growing up as a kid. I was adopted as well, so it's just me and my dad. So me going back to school right now actually is kind of scary, but super exciting because I can finally say that I was able to continue on with the Jones legacy and making it go farther than it has been that I can even imagine it going. So that is one of the obstacles. I'm 33 now. I graduated back in 2006. So that if you can do the math, you can see how long I kept putting it off for. And I was just scared until I had a conversation with my oldest son about him pursuing his dreams and goals. And as I'm talking to him, I realized that I haven't pursued my dreams and goals. So how can he really listen to me if I'm not being a good example for him? So that's one of the things that really helped me push me to start going back, is so I can be a good example for my kids.
Thank you. All right, the third question is, please share with our gathering a dream or a goal that you are currently working on.
So a dream and goal that I'm working on. I have a very deep love for coffee, and I started drinking coffee when I was 6 years old, and it's never gone anywhere. Love it every single day. So my dream is to open up a coffee shop. I want to have a coffee shop, but I also want to have programming within that to be able to support youth in the community. I want to be able to lead them down a path of showing them different employment skills at a young age, starting at like 13, 14 years old, because that's where they're eager to be able to be independent and earn a living wage, so to speak. I want to be able to show them different things like, what are you good at and how to articulate that, how to keep jobs, how to interview, simple skills like that, as well as being able to talk about themselves confidently. I was a youth in the Peace Palace as well. They used to be in North Minneapolis. And the Peace Palace is something that just saved my life and gave me a different perspective, and it gave me a chance to be surrounded by loved ones. And I would love to be able to do that in the same light for the community, as well as sharing something that I really love.
Thank you.
All right, so I kind of wrote mine down a little bit. So the things I'm finding passionate in life here is I'm passionate about becoming a firefighter paramedic. That's the top line that I want to do. I'm also passionate about becoming a YouTube creator and becoming a great dad / partner for my family. Because over the years, I definitely gained more passion about like self-improvement, like mental health, physical, finance, and physical health. Like trying to read more. I've been trying to watch more informational videos, as well as like podcasts, listen about finances, as well as health, taking care of your health. And getting a little bit more into like eating healthy and nutrition to try to pass it on, because you don't want a sloppy firefighter to try to come and save you from your house. So some of the dreams that I have, I wrote that down too. I have a list of dreams. One is becoming that firefighter paramedic, becoming a YouTube creator, owning multiple businesses, including one but not limited to a video production company, a restaurant, landscaping business here and there.
So the next question is, what would you say is your superpower?
I would say my superpower is being able to multitask and just juggle a lot at one time. When I tend to talk to my peers, friends, and things of that nature, they're always surprised about how much I have going on and how well I just keep up with it. I don't really ever seem stressed or overworked by it. And again, I'm always, helping others. That's a lot of the scope of it, taking care of my family, and just being able to figure out different things that I do not have a clue about. I'm very good at being able to research it and seem like I'm an expert. So, I would say that's one of my superpowers.
I would say my superpower is flying with X-ray. No, I'm just kidding. I would say that my superpower is wooing people which one stand I did like this little test back in when I was young, a little younger, and it stands for winning others over. So I do believe that is one of my superpowers, as well as the power to influence my surroundings that I'm in. So that's what I would say that my superpower is.
Well, thank you. So our come together is about racial justice. And I realized that both of you have a child that is either entering adolescence or already in adolescence. What would you say is your concern or experience or hope for your children as they are navigating race in schools where they're not always the dominant? So as parents, what would you say is your hope, your desire, or your concern for your children?
I would say, well, my daughter's 13, and she comes from a mixed family. Like, she has a Caucasian grandmother, because from her dad's side, and she's gone through issues where she struggled with her identity in school. She has part of her family is African American, the other part is Caucasian, so she's definitely gone through identity crisis and things of that nature, especially with students in her classrooms, asking about her hair and how it changes from day to day by texture and things of that nature. And my hopes for her is just to always know herself, where she comes from and where she wants to go, and not let, words and things around her influence it to go otherwise. She's very smart, brilliant. She has big hopes and dreams. So I just hope that she keeps that fire, because she has fire like her mom. And I hope that it just stays right where it is.
Thank you.
All right. So I have a 14-year-old, so he's in high school already, freshman. I would say that my biggest fear or my biggest concern is we live out in Burnsville, which is a suburban area. I was trying to see the best way to say it, but I don't know how to really say it the best way, but he go to a school and it's predominantly a lot of white folks there. And my son being African American, he has long dreads put down to his shoulders, and he plays all the sports. So my fear is that people would just gravitate to him just because of his appearance and not really getting to know who he is, or taking the time to even talk to him before they prejudge him already. And depending on the city, I wouldn't really worry about that. But us being out here, and I'm pretty sure you guys seen the news with different situations and that. So that'd be my concern, that he gets prejudged before he's able to actually make his own introduction to other people. And he does struggle a little bit because, of course, his friends are not all African American. He got a lot of white friends, and growing up being around them, you start being identified more. You try to do some of their traits that you do, but it just doesn't work out how you think it would. So it's that identity struggle, but also just the outside world too.
Yeah. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for who you are, for sharing your time and your experience with us, and thank you for showing up.
No problem.
At this time, we will transition into our breakouts. And with our breakouts, there are this is a time where we'll go into what we call our wisdom circles. And with that, we will, here are the questions that we would say. We begin by some guidance to introduce yourself, that each person will have about 5 minutes. Focus on listening, listening with all of yourself, your heart, your mind, your spirit, and focusing on listening well. Hear from each person in your group, and speak from your own experience with I statements. And I think that Jackie and Will gave us such a wonderful introduction about being open and vulnerable and sharing their stories. And I hope that we would carry that forward during our breakout, the World Wisdom Circle. And so the questions to share are, what stories did you connect with? What jumped out for you? And what challenged you? And again, we'll have about 20 minutes for the breakout time, and we'll let you know when it's time to reconvene. And then we'll have a brief time of debriefing. Introduce yourself to each other, and then take about 5 minutes each for the conversation. Thank you. Okay. Well, welcome back, everyone. We have a little bit more time, and I'm in a time tier in Florida right now, so I got kicked off with my wife also being on another Zoom. So, good to be back with you all. So maybe this would be a good time to take about 5 minutes to share any reflection, and then we can take a little bit of additional time to go back into our breakouts. Will, we had a question in our breakout around when you were talking about your son and his dreads and his experience with some of the other students that he affiliates with in school who are white. You seem to mention that there's some tension or concern that you have. And there was some question about, could you say a little bit more about that?
Definitely. So was it the concern about his hair? I'm sorry.
Well, his hair, or did you? It seemed like you had some concern about friendships or pressure or disappointment that he might experience. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, one of the concern, I guess it wasn't more so his appearance I wasn't really concerned about. It's more so, I just speak as clear as I can. So the thing that I really do worry about is, yes, it's his appearance, but not like his actual appearance. It's how other people perceive him as. Like him going to predominantly all white school, of course he sticks out because one, he's black, two, he's athlete, so he plays all the sports that you see him in, and he does have long hair, and a lot of common things that non-black people would say to his hair. They always want to come and touch his hair, and I don't understand it, but they always want to touch his hair and just rub on it. They always just amazed by it, and I don't want him to be, or him in the back of his mind thinking that it's okay for them to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my concern is more so of people just taking what he looked like and like, oh, if we can put him in our area, then we should be fine, and just use his likeness as a coping mechanism for themselves, if that makes sense. I'm trying to be not as ignorant as inside most words to say.
Thank you, Will. If there are any other thoughts or questions or things that emerged in your breakout, please put it in your chat, and we'll can take a couple before we re-enter into our breakouts again. Another comment that came up was the being impressed with the number of dreams that Jackie, you and Will have, like a coffee bar, a fire, and just thinking about that, and also being as young as you are, your age and proximity to your children, and the relationship and how your experiences are not typically the gap that a lot of people who have their children older might have. Any comment about that?
Let's see. Well, I am 32. And I think that's on the older spectrum. And I feel like I feel that way because I feel like I've always been mature and acted older than my peers at all times. And, I also, I had my adopted mom struggled with mental illness. So I had to take on my siblings at an early age. So when I had my daughter at 19, it was like this, I had my daughter, I let her stay with her grandma and I worked 2 jobs and I went to school, and my dreams just come from, even though I had a mother, my adopted mom had mental health issues, she still was like a go-getter. I watched her work all the time, which is why I was at home figuring out how to cook and stuff. She always made sure she was able to provide for us. And I had a great support team that came up in my breakout room too, about like mentors and support. I have had a great support team. I've been in Minnesota since 2001, and it was a blessing of walking into Redeemer Church and meeting my church family and William Jones, my brother, and growing up with them. And as you see here, we're still family and one call away. So it's definitely been a blessing to me and my children as well too.
There's a question in the chat that goes with that, Jackie, and Will, because Will didn't answer that. So do you have a support system for yourselves? And you discussed how you help others. Whom do you receive support and help from? Jackie already touched on it. So Will, maybe you have some thoughts.
Yeah, so my support team is definitely my family, my inner family, my fiance. I have a younger sister that stays with us as well. I also have my beautiful sister here. PK sometimes, and not really a lot. No, I'm just kidding. My family. I have my distant family that adopted me. My mom. A lot of you probably know her as Beck Chatman. That's my mom. She's definitely always there to help me out. I would just say, yeah, because my family is really my support. I mean, I do got some friends that I consider family too, so I just wrapped it up as all family.
Thanks.
Okay, Will. I see another question. Oh, sorry.
No, you do it, Jackie. You moderate yourself. You don't need me.
Okay, so do you feel heard by the white community? For me, I would say it depends on the platform. Speaking like it depends on who introduces me to that platform as well. For instance, the platform I'm speaking on now, I feel extremely heard. I didn't create the platform, so to speak, but the conversation and feedback and everything that I'm getting from this, I feel heard. But when it comes to communities that you walk into that you're not familiar with, it's a different story. Like other churches that may not know your story. I feel like in order to be heard by the white community, they have to somewhat walk in the path of the minority in order for them to actually hear us, if that makes sense.
So do I feel heard by the white community? I don't know if I have a feeling towards it. It's just you guys. I just make sure that you guys do hear me. So I don't know that if you guys hear me or not. I'm just gonna make sure that you do. And so that's just how I come at it, or just how I think about it. So, do I feel heard? I guess yes. Sorry, my answer wasn't as long as Jackie.
I can talk a lot.
We know.
Any other questions?
Oh, PK, I think you're muted.
Thank you. I'm wondering, how do you feel about police?
Me?
Both of you.
What you say?
How do you feel about the police?
How do we feel about the police?
Yes. each of you individually. That's not a loaded question. I really want to hear your response.
I struggle. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt because I know not everybody's the same. But just as you can tell, as an African American being in the cities, after so many encounters with a certain type of uniform, you start prejudging, I guess. So in a sense, I just kind of started labeling them all the same. I try my hardest not to start out that way, but it never fails that they always go to the negative portion of it. Even if I'm not interacting with them, if I'm passing, it's the looks, it's the little comments that you hear. So in a sense, I know that they're useful, but I feel that I don't feel safe when they're around, if that makes sense to you guys. And it might be hard to believe, but I get more nervous when I do see them around, even if I'm not doing anything.
I feel very much the same. Like even when I'm driving, you know, it's like your hands start getting all sweaty on the steering wheel, and I'm like, I'm not even going fast, I'm going slow, but they're gonna get me for going slow. The turn happened even more so after the murder of George Floyd, and that circulated so much, especially in the schools. And I have, you know, my 6-year-old is very emotional. He's worried all the time. And to have to explain to him that we need law enforcement, police officers and stuff to be able to protect us, and him not understanding how they killed someone, but they're supposed to protect him. And at 6 years old, he's like, well, I don't like them because they weren't supposed to do that, you know, and I struggle a lot with that even now, because social media got to him first, and you know, or the school, I should say, and that's his insight on police officers. Although I feel like yes, we do need them in certain situations, but you know, with the reputation, it makes you very, very nervous. I had one stop me once for, I don't know, the wrong lane or something weird, and they stepped on the side of my daughter, and I was very, very nervous, you know, because they didn't come to my side of the car. And at that point, I was just like, I was ready to be in tears because I didn't know what they were going to do, you know.
Thank you. Well, I think what I'd like to do is invite you to go back into the breakout to continue your conversation. The question that I continue to have is, what is the gap between our experiences? I keep thinking about when and now I can't think of his name right now. Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, when he was first running for elected office, he talked about how some people are born on third base. And think of that as a metaphor for privilege, white privilege. And I think a lot of what you heard from William and Jackie about their dreams and who they are, the difference in not being born on third base. And what I hope we can do as a community, as a come together, figure out what can we do to bridge that gap between those who are born on third base and those who are born in a very different position in life. And how can we bridge that gap as a community? So with that, let's go back into breakout and continue your conversation with that understanding that there is a gap. And our gathering is to bridge that gap. That we might be closer to that beloved community that we aspire to share for. There's sharing. Eileen, you had, there was something discussed in your small group about the networking potential that come together, CLNE. Eileen, are you able to share? And then my supervisor.
There, now I was able to get unmuted. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we talked about a couple things, but one of the things we talked about is that something simple that we could do if we had the right connections is to if you need a new insurance agent, look for a BIPOC insurance agent. If you need a new banker, look for a BIPOC banker. Or not even if you need a new one, if you just want to use a BIPOC banker, especially in the case of a bank. If you invest in a BIPOC owned bank, then that bank turns around and makes loans to the community. So it's a kind of a circle of life there in a way. But we're so used to working on recommendations, and if we don't have enough contacts in the BIPOC communities, then we don't have recommendations. And we thought maybe there's a role for CLNE on this to gather people's recommendations. It's like Angie's List, but it's PK's list or something.
No, then we could really function and grow as a collective to share that kind of power, collective power and influence for change. Cheryl Chatman, my supervisor, had Cheryl, you had something. Are you there?
I am. Okay, so no, I had a question earlier. I'll send this other thing that I had already typed, but no, at first I had wanted to hear our speakers share some advice that they would give young people, but I don't know if we have enough time, because are we trying to end by 9:30? Is that the cutoff time?
8:30 Central, yes.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I didn't know if they had parting things, but I kind of wondered, seeing them from youth to now, what advice would they give to youth, Black youth today? I had that question earlier, but I may not have time. So anyway.
Jackie, William, you want to take us?
Yeah. Advice to youth today. Follow your dreams. Follow your dreams and never give up. I feel like a lot of our youth today are so scared to ask for help, and it's more prideful than anything. There's a lot of trauma too in our youth, and we have to be able to dismantle that trauma as not only as individuals but as a whole. So having mentors and having someone to talk to, and having someone to like help you along that path, I really think that's like Mama Chatman said, we were given that, thankfully, and I really, really feel like that's what helped us along our path today.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah.
I would say just give everything a try. Go in with an open mind. Don't be closed off is one thing I always say. And like a quote, I also want to say a quote that I really love and that I just take this everywhere with me. It says, "Do not let the behavior of others destroy your inner peace." And that's a quote from the Dalai Lama. So.
Thank you. Well, Jackie, William, thank you very much for your voice, for showing up, and for the gift that you continue to not only share with CLNE, but in your world, in our world together. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Next month, we are excited to say we will have a panel with Beck Chatman, who's the supervising pastor at Augsburg University, a chaplain at Augsburg University, and Reverend Dr. Robin Bell, who teaches at Bethel as a North Side resident. Well, both Reverend Babette and Reverend Robin are both North Side residents, and they will be sharing a panel discussion with me next month. And then in February, we're excited that we will have Nakima Armstrong, and Cheryl Pergasol will be our reflection leaders for February. So we're excited. And our goal with CLNE is to have this monthly convening, but have additional offerings during the month as well, beginning next month. And we're building a community, informing and empowering and impacting our community. So thank you all very much. We wish you a continued wonderful Advent and Christmas and celebration of the new year. We look forward to being with you all in January. Again, William and Jackie, thank you very much for showing up and sharing your gifts.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this.